Welcome back. Today we'll be doing lesson 5, multiplying negative numbers and real numbers. This is a series of videos covering beginning algebra, or algebra 1. Let's start with example 1. Say we have 2 times 3 equals 6, or we have negative 2 times 3, this would equal negative 6. Or we have 2 times negative 3 equal negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 3 would equal positive 6. Now there's a reason why when you multiply two positive numbers together, you get a positive out. That makes sense. When you multiply a negative and a positive together, you get a negative value. And when you multiply a negative and a negative, you get a positive value. So for example, here we'll have the rules of multiplication when you're dealing with negative numbers. We'll indicate the numbers with just variables. These variables could be any number, and we'll indicate as x and y. With rule number 1, if we have a positive x multiplying by a positive y, you will get a positive value. Rule number 2, you get a negative x times a positive y, you will get a negative value. Or if you do a positive x times a negative y, you will get a negative value. Now rule number 3, if you have negative x times a negative y, you get a positive value. So simply this, if you multiply two positive together, you get a positive. If you multiply a negative or a positive, you get a negative. Or a positive times a negative, you get a negative. Now if you do a negative times a negative, you get a positive value. Now just put, so as long as the values or the negativity or positivity is the same, your values will be positive. So 2 negatives will equal positive. 2 positive will equal positive. When you have opposites being multiplied, you will get a negative. And it doesn't matter which way you write them. You can have a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative. Normally we don't write positive 2 times positive 3. We don't leave the addition there or the positive value in front of the number, but instead just leave it off. So we normally don't write it. So when a value doesn't have a positive in front of it or a negative, you assume that it's positive. But if it has a negative, then you can say that it's negative. Okay, on to example number 2. Say we have 5 times negative 5. Well, we have a positive 5 being multiplied by a negative 5. So your overall answer will be negative, and so you'll get negative 25. Example number 3. Say we have a negative 1/2 being multiplied by 2/3, a positive 2/3. So you have a negative and a positive, your answer will be negative. You just multiply the tops together and the bottoms together, and you get negative 2/6. You can reduce this to 1/3, so it'd be a negative 1/3 is your answer. Just remember, negative to a positive, you get negative. Now it doesn't matter where you indicate the negative, so if we have the negative on the top or on the bottom or in the middle, it still indicates that the value is still negative. So like negative 1/2 with the negative on top, or the negative 1/2 with the negative on the bottom, or a negative 1/2 with the negative in the middle. Indicates that the negative is being multiplied by the whole fraction. So you can just say that you have a negative 1 being multiplied by a 1/2. And that's all you're really saying. So you can say negative 1 times 1/2. That'll still give you a negative 1/2. So either way you want to write it. So let's move on to example number 4. Say we have negative 4 being multiplied by a negative 6. Well, you have two negatives, two of the same thing. You will get something positive as your answer. So just do the multiplication and you get a positive 24. That's it. That's simple. You can write this with just the dot or with parentheses, either way you want it. Example number 5. Say we have negative 5 being multiplied by a negative 3. What would this equal? So you have two the same signs, two negatives. Your answer will be a positive. And so you just do the regular multiplication and you get a positive 15. That's your answer. Example number 6. Say we have a negative 2 being multiplied by a negative 3. And then you multiply that by a negative 1. What would be your answer? Well, you have two negatives that are the same. You get something positive, and then you're multiplying that by a negative. So a negative and a positive, they're two opposites. You should end up with something negative. So a negative times a negative is a positive. Then you're left over with a negative. So they're two opposites, so you get a negative. Do the regular multiplication, and you get negative 6. And that's just your answer. So you just simply take care of each sign as it comes. Example number 7. Say we have negative 3 being multiplied by a negative 4, then negative 2, then a negative 10. And let's try to figure out what sign you'd get. So you got two negatives being multiplied. They're the same, so you get something positive. And then you can bring down one of the negatives. So two opposites, so a positive and negative, you get something negative. Then bring down the other negative, you multiply something that are the same, so you get something positive. So your overall answer will be positive. So go ahead and do your multiplication like normal. You got 3 times 4, 12, and then you got 12 times 2 is 24 times 10, and that'd be 240. And it'd be a positive because we already took care of the signs. And that would be our answer, positive 240. And just remember to go through each sign and multiply them one at a time. Or I should say two at a time. Okay, well that ends our lesson 5, multiplying negative numbers and real numbers. Thank you for watching our series on algebra videos. This will conclude our lesson for 5 for the beginning algebra or Algebra 1 series. We have many other series that are coming up. Please check out our homepage on YouTube. And if you have any comments, leave them down below. Please like our video and please subscribe. Thank you for watching.